So for example, there are some apps which are region specific, right? So even if you get featured on the global app store, it might not really make a difference. But if you get featured on the regional app store, you can see 3 to 5x jump in, the number of customers that you see during that phase, right?
Welcome back to Indie Worldwide. My name is Anthony Castro, and I'll be your host. Today I have Kos, the founder of GetMason. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me here. Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Could you start by just telling us what is Kos, how does it work, and who is it for?
What's Mason, you mean? Kos is just me.
You're right. What is Mason? What does it do and who is it for? Yeah.
Right. I'm Kos, and it's Kos Manjita. Everybody calls me Kos. My full name is Kosambi, so for all of you guys out there, if you want to give that a stab. And me and my team have built out something called Mason. It's a no-code automation toolkit for storefronts in e-commerce in specific. And what does all that mean, right? Like, you have so many jargons there: no code and automation and toolkit and e-commerce. Well, if you look at the whole e-commerce world, and specifically with D2C completely exploding over this last couple of years all over the world now, one interesting phenomena that's coming up is it's getting easier and easier to kind of set up a shop online, but it's definitely the problem is shifting from how do I come online to how do I grow online. Right? Because let's face it, running anything operationally day to day is a lot of hard work. And specifically when it comes to, an online store, online, it's like a 24/7 business because your customers are coming in any point in time during the day from any channel, right? And you got to make sure that whatever you have, showing in your storefront, about your inventory, about your price, about all the new collections that you're launching, all of that is fresh, updated, completely in sync with what's really happening in your business. And that's work. That's operations. That's, any time in the day, your trending products could change, right? Anytime in your day, your products could go out of stock. How do you make sure all of that information is replicated back across to all your customers at each part of the customer funnel, right? The shopping funnel. And that's hard. That's a lot of work unless you have something like Mason in between, which kind of connects with your store back office and with all your storefronts. So essentially your web store, your Instagram store, your Amazon store, and make sure that everything that's happening in your business, it's bang in sync with what's, displayed to your users in your storefronts. So think of it like that, like a Zapier and a Canva kind of coming together to make sure that your store funnel is working really well.
So you could update product images across all of your stores at the same time, or?
I think product images is a starting point. When you're running a business, you realize it's not as simple as just my catalog images. It's also saying that, hey, let's assume that you have an Instagram story and you see a bunch of really cool t-shirts but you want to make sure that whether your customers get to know which are the top trending t-shirts, which are the right sizes are available or not. Imagine Anthony is on an Instagram story, he likes a cool tee, he clicks on it, he's in the shopping funnel, and it's stocked out or the size is not there, which is even worse, right? So all of that information is kind of taken care of. It's not just a product images, but all, pushing all that information out there back in a visual way, which is core to e-commerce.
Gotcha. I'm seeing on your website, it's the kind of demo GIF, and it's your stock's going low. Automatically put just a few left inside the image itself for that product.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's doing all this automatically, pulling from your data and then updating the images for the product itself with things to highlight. what's going on.
Exactly. That's like the pulling from your data automatically is all your Zapier, and putting it on that label on the product image is like
That's
your
the
Canva,
Canva.
right? So yeah.
Okay. I think I get it now. So would that work with like a featured item on Instagram? How does Mason know that that item was just featured and that it should be promoted?
Yeah, so it's all these rules can be set by the team or by the merchant or the store owner, the brand maker themselves. So we give all the levers for them to choose. Like, hey, these are my product images. These are the product IDs that I'm putting out on that channel, etc. So they can pick and choose, and make the rules that work for them in a way.
Gotcha. Very cool. So I tried to sign up. It looks like it's still kind of like a waitlist system.
Yes. So we are on the Shopify App Store. So if you have a Shopify store, so we just launched about a bit more than a year back now. And, the first version of the app was just a Shopify first app. So if you have a Shopify store and you're on the Shopify App Store, you can just install it directly into your store and you're good to go. But yes, we are now, launching away from Shopify too. So if you have stores on other, commerce platforms, you'll soon be able to, do that using apps on those, platforms. But for now, if you are a non-Shopify team, yes, you're on a wait list. We reach back to you. In this case, I'll make sure that, we know that Anthony doesn't have a store, but he's just trying it out. But essentially, you can just, sign up with us, our team, we reach back to you and we make sure that you're set up.
How many users do you have now on the Shopify side?
Yeah, I mean, it's agnostic. We do have a few teams who are non-Shopify too, and who, kind of directly reached out to us, and we've, helped them use the product, etc. It's headless too, so it's all API backbone, so you can actually like connect to whatever you are. But of course, if you are, if the version of the app is compatible with a certain platform, it's much easier for you to use it, because then it's just one-click install. We've crossed more than 10,000 teams using us now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what's the business model? When do they pay you?
Yeah, we are freemium, usage-based, very, very standard SaaS, pricing model. Easy for you to try out, and then after that, it's a easy entry, and based on whatever you're using, whatever you're not using, you pay as you go.
Are you comfortable saying how much that is right now, in terms of like MRR?
No.
No. All right, fair enough. We can make our own guesses based on your pricing page.
Yeah.
And 10,000 users. So how are people finding out about you? Is it mostly through the Shopify store? Do you have other marketing channels that you're leveraging?
Well, we've been very word of mouth heavy. So it's right now that we have set up a marketing. We are early days of setting up a marketing team, early days of actually starting marketing. So it's primarily been just App Store first, word of mouth. And, we also happen to win the Commerce Awards on Shopify this year. A lot of great, experts in the e-commerce ecosystem reaching out and, recommending us. So it's been very, very heavily organic and word of mouth.
So you never been featured on the Shopify store or anything like that. It's all been just people talking to each other.
If you're featured on the Shopify store, that's not really paid. That's if you're a good app, and a lot of your customers are rating you high. If your installs are high, if people are not uninstalling, all of that matter. And then we've definitely been featured on the App Store. We've been featured as staff picks twice.
Okay, cool. So when you get that staff pick, what kind of bump do you see, if any? How valuable is it to be in that spot?
It really depends on what kind of customer base finds you valuable. So, for example, there are some apps which are region specific, right? So even if you get featured on the global app store, it might not really make a difference. But if you get featured on the regional app store, you can see 3 to 5x jump in the number of customers that you see during that phase, right? So for us, it's been very it was great uplift. I think it was more of a trust thing that, hey, Shopify trust is, so this is definitely, a well-trusted product kind of a thing. But our customers were always following the Shopify distribution, which is, we have a bunch of customers from NORTAM, from UK, from Germany, etc., which is very similar to how the breakup that you see in Shopify. So for us, it was a great word of mouth vehicle. It was a great trust builder. It was a fair enough bump in traffic, not as drastic as for some teams who probably didn't have that sort of visibility before.
Have you been doing anything to encourage word of mouth? Is there anything that you do to get people to talk about you?
No, we don't have a referral. We don't have anything which is incentivized referral at all. And when you come to think of it, like your persona you're talking about is also stores, right? Like they usually not necessarily, referral first or referral heavy, which is, understandable considering they are all different brands and they're not necessarily, working with each other to sort of like grow their own business. So yeah, it's we don't have anything which is incentivized word of mouth. What we do is we do have newsletters, we do have content now starting to pick up where we feature our top brands, our favorite brands. We do events. We're starting to do events with other app partners, in fact, where we join collectively and we kind of, help with educational content to sort of help merchants. So I assume those are more evangelism-led routes that probably has led to a bit of word of mouth. Being, helpful to merchants definitely helps out. Like, I think any app store, you know that, Anthony, like any app store, how your last 10 reviews have been really matter because how other people kind of speak about you, whether they found it helpful, really helps other teams find you and hopefully try you out.
So in the Play Store, the App Store, a lot of apps will do things to encourage their users to leave reviews, like little pop-ups and things. Is there anything like that you're able to do for Mason to encourage people to review you if they've had a good experience?
So interestingly enough, Shopify has a very strong policy for not incentivizing teams to, ask for explicit reviews. So there's really not much you can do around with that. The best you can do is when customers sort of reach out to you, if you like the experience, do give us a review, right? Like you can't even incentivize hey, give us 5 stars, we'll do this for you. It's not, encouraged, and it's actually discouraged quite heavily. In fact, last year Shopify, I remember, did this whole purge almost of all a lot of apps which had probably incentivized for reviews. They kind of got the reviews got taken back and kind of negative, I would say, impact of that. So you try your best to actually stay away from anything which is direct incentivization, but more putting it very Product Hunt. It's very similar. In Product Hunt, you can't, whenever you're launching anything on Product Hunt, you can't go and ask anybody for direct upvotes. Like you have to say, please help us. So it's a very similar way. Yeah,
I think that's good for the ecosystem.
Yeah,
you don't want people gaming your system because then you're going to have not the best apps at the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or I guess maybe it's better to think everyone is going to game the system. So let's set rules that incentivize playing the game fairly.
Yeah, it's a fair point. But I don't think this ecosystem, though, is as sophisticated as Product Hunt. That's way more, right? Like, because you even know, based on your followers, how much you actually engage with Product Hunt. There's so many things out there that really matter based on the number of upvotes you've given before, how much you've engaged in the community. Shopify's App Store is still evolving. And it's not really as, it's not that someone who's used Shopify for a year versus someone who's used Shopify for 5 years, like there's different weightage to it. I don't think they're that sophisticated as yet.
Interesting. Yeah, Product Hunt definitely is a more complicated algorithm than just upvote equals upvote.
It's exciting. I love it. I mean, it's so, because it totally fosters a very community first approach when you're launching anything
Yeah.
on that, right? It totally forces you to rethink how you're thinking about launches.
Have you launched Mason yet on Product Hunt?
We, when we first put our micro app version of Mason on Shopify, we did attempt a launch on Product Hunt. A lot of learnings. I think all these comments I'm making actually come from it, right? We did see a bunch of, and this was like about a very early, like so clearly at least like 14 months back, right? But it was fun because it taught us a lot about, hey, make sure that when people are upvoting, it doesn't matter if they just created a profile. That's not really going to make any impact for you, right? Things like if evangelist or community influencer sort of comment on your product launch, you can see that impact directly. Like in the next 20, 30 minutes, 1 hour, you suddenly see a bunch of really older members of the community coming and interacting with your product, etc. So it didn't really go that well, honestly speaking, primarily because Product Hunt, when you look at the community, it's not necessarily e-commerce first. You have a more technology product sort of audience over there. So it, at least for us at that moment, we are still e-commerce first. So it doesn't really make much of a sense to us anymore. But that was great learning. I think if you didn't launch it, we wouldn't realize that.
Yeah, I think it's like a double-edged sword where both edges face the same way, to make a terrible metaphor. If you have a bunch of customers who are already on Product Hunt, then you're going to do much better on Product Hunt because, as you already pointed out, not every vote is equal on Product Hunt. So the people that are already there have more power to upvote you. And then two, if your customers aren't on Product Hunt to begin with, then again, you're not going to do as well because people who care about your product won't see it.
A bunch of teams that we reached out. Look, honestly, I think in the last 6 months or so, I might have spoken to maybe at least 300 to 400 product hunters, or product hunt evangelists, product hunt influencers, people who are in the community. And it was very interesting. It was just out of curiosity, how do they approach their launches, etc. I should do a post about that. A lot of learning. And I think the primary learning was exactly this, right? There were teams who launched enterprise apps on Product Hunt. There were teams who launched something very different, for sales or something like that, right? And clear winners are always products which are applicable to everybody in some way or the other, right? So your notions or your quotas and stuff that you can use, anybody, any of us can use, and we can find meaning over there. Really does well, or it has to be somewhere technology product or developer first, right? In some way, it really does well. Retool did really well on Product Hunt, right? In each of their launches, but you don't necessarily see vertical specific products doing spectacular in their launches, primarily because it's more vertical specific and it doesn't really help on Product Hunt.
Yeah. So how did you get your initial users? Say your first 100. Where did they come from?
Oh man, they came, of course, on the App Store, right? And also a lot of direct outreach. There are tons of. It's interesting how much e-commerce brands, D2C brands, they are kind of almost looking for these little solutions, right? And they are very alive and kicking in Reddit, on Facebook groups, literally chatting with each other, recommending products to each other, giving suggestions to new app launches. And we did that. We actually posted, I think our first 30 teams that started using us was purely, a lot of them were purely these hey, posting on groups, people literally pinging us and giving us feedback, paragraphs of feedback, right? And it was great. We were really amazed. Didn't expect, honestly, something so vertical specific and people really engaging to give you feedback. But I guess that was one very interesting observation, right? Even on Shopify has like its own community. WooCommerce has its own community. People who are building on Wix, stores, they have their own little communities, and they're very active. They definitely, respond back, give you feedback. Sometimes just openly speak about their problems. Say like, this is great, but actually we would prefer this, right? So a lot of our roadmap and the directionally, when we realized that, hey, like automation is important, right? Like, keeping things very easy to use is so important, because as a brand, as a new brand, you have so many things to worry about, right? You have so many channels to crack, and you have like your entire store conversion to like uplift to, crazy numbers. And the last thing you want to worry about is like, hey, I have to learn like 50 new things now, right? So keeping the products and the apps which are specific to e-commerce very simple, easy to use, are so important. So all these feedback we got in the early days, it was really great.
A lot of people are scared to post on like Facebook groups, and especially Reddit, I think, has a reputation for being very negative about even talking about a product you're making.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips there? What was your approach for not getting like banned, which is what a lot of people are afraid of?
Yeah, I think if you can't be marketing, and I think it helps because, as I mentioned, we literally are a product team. I've been a product manager for a large part of my life, of my career. My co-founder is, pure tech platforms, machine learning and all of that. And I think we were genuinely interested in getting feedback. Like there was not an ounce of marketing in anything ever, right? So it was, I think that really helped because it kept it real. We really feel the space. I've worked in e-commerce as a product manager, in Walmart Lab subsidiary, in an Alibaba subsidiary. So there's a lot of that context. And so it was just general interest and curiosity and genuine, need to like solve a problem. That's about it. And I think all our conversations, even now, we pick up support tickets even now. Of course, we continue to do that even as founders, and we are building our product team now. So we are encouraging them. Hey, let's always be there, like coming from a solution first angle, and not necessarily upselling, cross selling. It doesn't matter. It'll all happen, right? I'm sure that as you keep growing, you have to change a lot of that. In the sense, you have to evolve a lot of that, and you have to build more, solid systems around it. We are starting to do that, but I think you can't lose that ethos of we want to solve the problem, right? First, and I think as like ingrained product guys, you have that.
So be part of the community that you're targeting, and be genuine in your approach with them.
Be part of the community or not, even if you say that I'm new to Reddit, but right. I really need your help, that's good too. They're okay with it. But I need your help. I need you to give me, like, tear down, if you think it's not working, tell me 5 reasons why it's not working, and what do you think will work, right? Don't just be negative, but do tell me what do you think will not work, right? So that's it.
Yeah, I feel like people like smell on you really quick if you're in any way not presenting yourself as someone you're not, or trying to like get one over on them.
Yeah,
I jump on you.
Yeah, they do. We've seen that, but luckily for us, it's not been. There have been, feedback that during our product hunt launch, I totally forgot. That was a fun thing. Fun. So someone just like said that, hey, like this is like promoting consumerism or whatever. And I said, well, it's not about promoting consumerism. It's about people are going to sell products. Like you can't run away from that, right? That's bread and butter. And if they're selling products, we're helping them sell better. I mean, it's not about promoting consumerism. It's about people have forever, since society started, have traded, and that's going to continue, right? And these are all, teams that are trying to make a living in an honest way. They're not swindling anybody. They are just putting up a store and they're saying, if you think it's good, buy it. If you don't like it, don't buy it again, right? And we have complete right as discerning buyers and consumers to not go back to a brand if we don't care about their products, right? So
some people are just critics. They just like shitting on new things, and then do nothing in their own life to address the problems that they raise.
What? Yeah, I assume. That person might have had some bad experience. And I said that our intent is not to promote anybody, but if people are trying to make an honest living, we love to help them. And beyond that, I can't control how whether a brand is a positive brand or a negative brand. That's not on me, right?
So maybe a couple more questions. First, what is your goal for Mason in the next year? Where are you trying to get to?
Yeah, I think it's just there are two. I've realized now, the second time doing a startup is that it's very important as you move across, I would say, milestones, to keep the goal very simple. The more complicated the goal, it just is like, and if you're also now building the team and, growing customers and, trying to convert your startup or working on converting your startup to actually a company, right? So keep it simple. So it's very simple. It's like, hit 100K in customers, right? Like keep it simple. By end of next year, try your best. Have your goals, have the whole team aligned to it. So we're just keeping things as simple as that. Is like, hey, can we just put a number to it? Can we just go and hit it? And what would it take? Work backwards from there. What would it take? Would it be possible, not possible? What are different skill sets we need now, right? For example, we are not marketeers, but definitely marketing is important, right? In some way, content is important, evangelism is important. So let's pull all of that in, right? Trying to keep it simple, just one North Star, let's all work for it.
Do you have a plan for how you're going to get there?
There are multiple, ways, as I mentioned, that we've been heavily organic, which basically is just word of mouth, but without having, any other, levers that have opened up. Now we, are starting to pick up our events and content and all of that. Definitely, those are the primary levers. There's no different rocket science there. It's just about consistency and getting it done and finding the right voice, because you understand your customers, right? Like, what do they want? What help are they looking for? Can we provide that through content, right? And through events and all of that. So just working on that, building that muscle, I would say, the content and content marketing and event marketing sort of muscle in the team. The second is like, we started out on Shopify, but as I mentioned when we started the call, like that was just a start, because it was clearly the biggest, fastest growing e-commerce platform, but of course expanding across platforms. So that's another thing that we have on the roadmap.
How large is the team right now?
It's extremely tech and design and product heavy, as I already mentioned to you. So we are about 25 people, and now hopefully growing much faster, because we'll have a lot of great marketeers and content writers and evangelists and product managers join us.
Have you raised any money?
Yes, we've raised seed from VCs like Excel. We're hoping to also nail a Series A soon.
And then any advice for founders just starting out?
Oh, well, this is where I think the imposter syndrome stuff starts coming in. I've done a lot of 0 to 10s and now 10 to 100, and now, trying to grow beyond. How do you take it, scale something from 100 to like 100K, right? And I think it's very interesting. A lot of early founders ask me, right, like what, I'm not a technologist. I've been a product manager, but I don't code. Very important. I'm a product manager. I have been a product manager who's never coded. So there's all of that. I think the question that a lot of people who are trying to start up ask me is, how do I find co-founders, right? And how do you know it's the right time, right? And I think there's like 3 things that you got to think about. First is that before anything else, like, is the space something that you are willing to stick to for the next 5, 7, 10 years? You don't know how long it's going to take, right? And you got to have that, commitment. Like, the problem area might shift, the way you solve it could shift, right? You could pivot several times. But if you like the space and you really care about it, and you know fundamentally that you want to do something, you want to solve some problem in that space, right? You gotta be really like sure about that, because it's something you have to wake up every day. Every day. There's no Sunday. At least not in the first year or so. So you got to wake up every day and work like 16, 18, 19 hours a day, like work your ass off on that, right? So you got to really love the space. You got to be committed to the space, whether you feel it personally or not. And the second thing is that you have whoever are your co-founders or whoever is your co-founder, it's exactly the same commitment. You got to be, around that person for a lot of your time, more than with your family for a while. And I think if you can't fundamentally, or rather, if you don't fundamentally have a similar directional, vision or goal, it's again hard. Like if I'm in it for the money and my co-founder is in it for, saving the world, you'll have decisions that you'll have to take. Many decisions you'll have to take, which might pull you in two different directions. So I think these two are very, very important. And the third is like, you have to remember that no matter what, whether you are a technologist, whether you are a product guy, whether you are a marketing guy, or whatever it is, you have to build a team. You have to sell your vision all the time, sometimes till you're bored. And all you want to do is sleep, but you got to like wake up and, speak to that next new hire. So you have to have one, which is you love the space, so that you can continue to do three, which is speak about it with as much passion every day. So.
Excellent. This was Kals from getmason.io. Thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure getting to know you and your business.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great, fun talk.